Hi and good morning, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy Sunday morning to join me. I really appreciate that. We're mixing up the channel here a little bit and starting some programming a lot sooner than normal. Probably like 14 hours ahead of schedule or something. But hey, right, as it so fits, I have something on my mind and I'd like to talk about it. So I find the most effective way for me to deal with any kind of problem that I have in life is to communicate that problem. You feel me? And I find that this sort of methodology is effective in that it requires just, a little bit of understanding, a little bit of acceptance. And I feel like once human beings are able to let go of these sort of very basic emotions that govern the way that we run our life on the daily, we can mature and become better. And that includes myself. You feel me? Like, I find this truth to also be self evident as it pertains to the way that I live my life. You know what I mean? And that's because I identify as a social capitalist, and I also have the unfortunate sort of, label as a Roman Catholic, in a sense that I don't think it's unfortunate. I value my conservative values. I enjoy being a part of the cult. I know. And again, even as I say these things, right, I say them because this is my interpretation of my faith. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't need like anybody to tell me, including like the people within my own cult. I want to be good to people, and I find that my own existential relationship with things that perhaps are fictional are my business. I find that without believing in God, I'd still behave the same way. Myself personally, in terms of I I like human beings, man, I do. I'm a human being, I don't understand why there's so much conflict between secular, atheist, non-denominations, and even branches within the religious, industry. You feel me? Like I think that I'm normal for thinking that this is not good, in terms of the validation of each group and the continued sort of, unrelenting arguments on both sides, and whether that's, again, both sides. It's like pro religion or, anti establishment. It's sort of like, where do we fall? And a lot of us fall within a kind of gray area. And when I say a lot of us, I mean like, I don't know, 3 to 5 billion of us, on the planet. And so just the recognition of that kind of volume of people following a doctrine provides to me the kind of empirical data that I need to move forward in suggesting that, ultimately taking away religion is not a good idea. Ultimately, professing and advocating for things that are anti-religion are in fact, detrimental to progress, in that the battle for all time, has been just that, has been the state's failed recognition or, ultra recognition or absorption, or there's never seemed to be a kind of formula that's worked out well for the least, the most marginalized people as well as the most prosperous people, right? In terms of like, it appears as if, the common denominator is people. And so right now I want to talk about authority, okay? And authority is important because authority is what governs how we behave, right? And again, ideally, in a mature kind of practice, in a perfect world, the kind of self-evident, recognition of sentience as an individual bearing and debt owed to other sentient beings is something that is tough to achieve, in terms of like, I know that was a mouthful, but I think people seek authority in their life because it provides comfort. And it's difficult to be a person that reaches a point in their life that can provide themselves with all of the comforts they need to be the best kind of person they can be, in terms of, like, authority again is something we pass the buck to as human beings. I feel like it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, and it doesn't matter if you use religion as a weapon to do terrible things, right? Which is something that, again, I'm clearly not an advocate for. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I, again, cherish my conservative values in the way that I have a relationship with, a particular story or whatever as it is. But in that same regard, like, one, I, am not openly soliciting for anyone. You feel me? Including the big guy himself, in terms of, like, my authority, I find as I mature, in my life, does fall on me. It doesn't matter. My accountability, ends here. The buck stops here. As my grandpa had on his desk, right? I mean, I've had the privilege of being able to experience both worlds, right? A secular world and sort of a very, very, very closed and conservative religious background. And again, like, I'm also like, I'm a different dude. You understand? And I say that because I encounter people all the time, that, like, have experienced things and they feel a kind of way, and I respect that so much. I respect that. But, like, I also don't ever understand why that, like, I can acknowledge, that people seek authority. And again, it doesn't matter if it's the doctor over prescribing you Oxycontin or the pastor at your local congregation. You understand? Like, yes, people do seek out authority. They seek out authority because it provides validation. And not all of us, there will never be an evolutionary point in any sort of lineage along any timeline that will reflect every human being completely 100% accountable for themselves and, self-reliant and self-evident. I mean, there's the numbers are too big, and not everybody is born with the same kind of intuition, that others may have, or the creativity. But the common problem, again, seems to be people, right? To me, it's never been religion itself. It's never been anti-establishment behavior. It's never been anything at all like that. I mean, again, the problem seems to be human beings and the lack of wanting to accept other people's beliefs, even if they don't think them themselves. Like, and that's kind of like where I fall, right? And again, I think the biggest barricade for me is, like, or the biggest obstacle, right, is that, like, I have to understand that not every, like, people are going to feel a certain kind of a way about a topic because of their experience in life. You know what I mean? And ultimately, I'm not the guy, right, to convince anybody of anything other than that, like, I'm bent on what I believe in. You know what I mean? And, like, I feel like I act as I say I do. I'm a pretty honest person. I arguably am quite blasphemous at times, in terms of, but hey, like, I find it sort of, I don't know, in a way, kind of provides some kind of relief for me, in that, like, I'm not necessarily, while I'm on the team of whatever I might believe in, I also am very much the guy to point out all of the major problems that arise from identifying as such, a person, as well as going out of my way to alienate myself within my own team to advocate for equal treatment across all religions. Like, I break rules, like, and again, that's just common sense to me, in terms of, like, how I would want to be treated and how I, want to treat people, right? And so again, I think the common theme here obviously is authority, right? And an appeal to authority. Again, it doesn't matter what kind of an appeal to any authority that means. We all, live under the authority of the federal government, for example, right? I mean, that, and the federal government is not religious, right? I mean, in that, there's an acknowledgement in our constitution that separates church and state, and obviously that's super needed, right? I mean, probably one of the best things this country has done is allow for open religious practices in a business oriented infrastructure. Again, I think we can all agree that freedom of religion and or the lack thereof is, quite simply put, the most effective way to govern a large amount of people, and on the daily hope, right, that peace is ultimately going to prevail, and it does. Like, there aren't many instances here in America of like some super religious zealot people, in terms of like, there are attacks, there are church shootings. There's a lot of unfortunate things that go on in this country. Absolutely 100%. Whether they're driven by secular, bad actors or religious bad actors. But for the most part, as an American multi-generation here, I don't ever really encounter out IRL, like in practice, people that, are getting real riled up about their beliefs versus theirs. In fact, I find that, being from Albuquerque, New Mexico, allows me quite the opposite perspective, in terms of, we have many different ethnic people and cultures and religions around these parts. I mean, including the fact that, we all kind of like live in that like subliminally half guilty kind of a life, right? In that we reside near the Navajo reservation, or in like, we took all their land and stuff. I mean, where I'm from is really special to me, like, because of its inclusivity and of its history, as it concerns many people, right? And for the most part, again, I feel like being a part of a country from a place that has, not only the oldest architectural building in the country, but also the oldest recognized state capital in the country, right, which is Santa Fe. I'm very, I got a unique perspective. I understand this, but I also feel like other people might feel like this too. Most notably, people like me, my peer group, my generation, people who have also been brought up by Hispanic parents, biracial people. You feel me? Like, it's important to like take what we've learned, from our experiences, and turn them into something positive, because otherwise we're going to spend our whole lives as a part of this same old dumb system that just continues to perpetuate hate, you know what I mean? And again, it shouldn't be about like whether or not you believe in God. It shouldn't be whether or not you believe, in your doctor prescribing you the right kind of medication or anything, right? Because everything in life is up to you, and you got to figure things out, and you have to understand that, like, even though religion might tell you to do something, if it sounds insane, it's insane, and don't do it. And again, that's my perspective, right? Like, because that's just the standard, as it always is the standard, right? I mean, I don't want people to use religion as a crutch for anything at all, including the driver for good behavior, because you should just be good just to be good. That's it, right? Without a question, there needs to not be any sort of authority issued for you to be a decent person. Now, the same goes for the secular sense, in that, right, like doctors and the appeal to authority, we got to have some common sense as it concerns, the people that we trust. And that's it, right? Because ultimately, if we find these truths to be self-evident, right, we're going to always fact check with ourselves, right? In terms of like, hey, is this right? Is this wrong? Right? And again, what determines that answer should not be authority, any other authority than yourself, right? So you should not be giving answers about what you think in life based on any belief system other than, again, your own recognition of what is right, what is wrong, what is decent, what is indecent. And again, you'll find pretty quickly that most human beings, right, like, we all have the same wants, the same needs, the same recognitions, and we're all trying to figure it out together. But that's kind of the thing, is we need to do this together forevermore. This experience, as existential as this may sound, is a very unique experience, tailor made for this kind of sentience on this planet. And I'm trying to get along. I understand there's going to be problems always, ideologically speaking, existentially speaking, policy speaking. Human beings are one giant problem. But I don't feel like being a problem necessarily like means exploiting people that are vulnerable to control them through religion or non-religion. I don't believe in enslavement. I believe in free will. And again, free will to me is exercising whether or not you choose to believe in a god and just being a good person. That's it. Like, again, God should not make you a good person. Your doctor should not make you a healthy person. You should make yourself a good person. You understand? And again, that is important. Given that if you have the resources to be a good person and you're still a Richard, again, like, dude, there's something wrong with you. Like, again, there are many, many working people all over the world who continue to wake up with smile on their faces, in spite of their government not allowing them to practice their religion. And again, ultimately, what's the problem there, right? Like, between people and governments not choosing to allow, people to practice their religion. I mean, the Uyghurs population in China, the absolute absurd idea that I get it, right? I get it. We all get it. But I think we should also understand too that none of that like makes anything any better. And maybe we should consider getting along. We should consider being acceptant of one another and value each case on a case by case basis, right? And not allow bad actors in either the secular or the religious world to bring about bad stuff for either team. You feel me? Just because it's sort of like it's bad for all of us, And as much as I obviously don't believe in privacy, we live in a world that's completely run, on the idea that we must be tracked, monitored, and surveyed all the time, even if that's against our, like, even if we don't have informed consent. Yeah, I think it's pretty important that we continue to practice, cherish, the term, like the tradition of oral storytelling, whatever it is, right? Whatever's important to you, keep it important to you. But I just feel like an appeal to authority is complete nonsense as it concerns the driver for one's behavior in their life, right? So don't do that, y'all, seriously, because it's so easy and it's such a human thing to do, right? I say this as like the most hypocritical Catholic in the world, right? Because a lot of my congregation members are out behaving a certain kind of way all the type of the week, and then going into church on Sunday so that they can clean all that up. You feel me? But like, that's not, indicative of, again, how the core of religion and its beliefs and its ideas are really good, are really good. And if it weren't for religion, a lot of people wouldn't eat. I mean, the government and secular society, seems to not very much support socialist ideas or equality in a kind of a way that, supersedes race, ethnicity, culture. I mean, we live on a planet where, lots of white people have been fighting for a long time, right? In terms of, so we I say that jokingly because it doesn't even seem to matter like what color skin you are or what team you're on. People seem to be like the problem, and their unwillingness to get along. And as an American straight millennial man, you feel me, who obviously, like, I'm done with that, you know, like I want to be comfortable practicing my religion, and I want to feel like the secular people around me, and that the world also, like, you know, isn't like, we shouldn't be against each other in any kind of a way. And just so long as that we're good people, and we're not trying to solicit our services and or our sales to unwanted and unwarranted and you know, people, I think that we should, again, all value our free will. And I think it's really important. And yeah, it's a real nerdy thing to talk about because, again, like, does it matter? You know, yeah, it does. It does matter, actually, because, again, it's our behavior that dictates how we move forward in life. It's our behavior that allows and or doesn't for growth, you know? And I'm interested in growing. I'm not, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to grow. Like, human beings are capable of so much more. And I don't want to sell us short anymore, right? Like, in terms of the potential to do really good things for everybody. Again, and for no other reason than just to do it, right? Because it's the right thing to do. I just, that's it. You know, I mean, I think we can all agree on that. So, I mean, the next time, you know, you feel like you need to appeal to an authority in your life, strongly consider your own sort of input in what you're being told, right? Regardless of how you feel about what you're being told, it's really important to have critical thinking. It's really important to discern, you know, what's right and what's wrong, and to call people out on wrong behavior, you know, instead of accepting it and using it as a justification for our own continued acknowledged bad behavior, whether that's driven by religion or by the good old doctor down the street. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have some self accountability, right? So that you can have some self evident traits within you to accept responsibility for your actions, and to not put that on God or your doctor. You feel me? In terms of, yeah, you know, the arguments can be made that both God and the doctor are, like, really, like, you know, the major perpetrators of the crimes here, you know, but I don't think so. I think that, you know, we really, really have to take some time to think about where we are and what we believe in and how we feel about things, you know? So that's all. I feel better now. I hope that you guys have a really good night. Listen, we're gonna do the streams a little bit earlier today. Again, and for the record, now that we're wrapping up the video, listen, like, I love all my people. I don't, you know, I'm a normal person, and I'm gonna deal and grow with things as I need to. You feel me? And a lot of things don't make sense to me because, well, what doesn't make sense doesn't make sense, you know. And I challenge my perspective on life every single day. And that's because I want to grow. I want to be a better person. I want to be my best self, you know, like, nothing drives me. No God, you know, no nothing other than wanting to be good to people and wanting to do the right thing, and, you know, thinking to myself that if I do those, like, few simple things, that other people will, like, do that as well. Like, you know, like, and again, there's nothing wrong with being that way, I think, you know, because I'm trying, right? Like, I know this will work. I know people have enough in common to get past their indifferences without, you know, starting world wars or, you know, crusades or imprisonment or re-education camps. We live in a pretty crazy world, you know, where people are still fighting over the same stuff they've been fighting for thousands of years. And again, I think it's real silly. I think it's real silly on behalf of where I come from, you know, from that religious perspective, so far as, you know, the country that, you know, allows that kind of doctrine to be practiced. I think we should all get along. You know, get out a bong and all get along. I'm just saying. I'm very much interested in that, and so I'll continue to exercise, advocate, and hope for a future in which human beings are continued to be allowed their free will, whether that's something you believe in or not. It doesn't matter, like, because other people do, and it's really important to them. So, like, let's not take away things that are important to people. I mean, that's the root of many problems, is taking things away from people, and that includes their ideas. People don't like that, and you can't blame them, seriously. And as long as they're not causing any problems, any real problems, then it shouldn't be a problem. So I hope that you guys have a really good day. Okay, bye.